The signs were all set and waiting by the front door. I spent the past couple of days working on them because I wanted them to be just right. Now comes the tough part, hauling everything up the stairs to the master bedroom. I need to strip off the sheets, take off the mattress from the king-sized bed, and then half carry, half drag it all down the stairs, through the hallway, and out onto the front lawn by the street. After that, I'll head back inside, go up the stairs, throw the bedding down, and toss it outside next to the mattress in a pile. I checked the clock, it's 4:22, I really need to hurry. Get it done by 5, so I took apart the bed and brought it down piece by piece. By 4:35, the bed was all set up. Next up was the kitchen table, which was light enough for me to carry by myself. I turned it sideways and walked it out the door, placing it next to the bed in the yard. The last thing was a 6x8 rug in the living room. I rolled it up and put it with the other items in the yard, then put up some signs proudly saying I finished by 4:55. There's only 10 minutes left before my wife gets back, so I walked out into the street and looked around. Man, it was heartbreaking at work today. I saw my wife's bed, our marital bed, the kitchen table, and the rug, all places where I know for sure she's been getting it on with her lover for the past 6 months. The signs were up high, out of reach, but I read them one by one. The sign in front of the furniture said, "Take these items for free, they're no longer needed in this house. If you can handle the smell of cheating and broken promises, help yourself." The sign above the bed said, "On this bed. My wife has been cheating on me for the past 6 months, getting it on with her lover twice a week. Today was their final fling." There was a sign above the kitchen table where they used to hook up before dinner. I even hung up a picture of them in action for each sign. Yo, check it out, there's a sign on the furniture truck that says, "My wife's lover is her boss Greg Allen from Mitchell Price and Allen." Can you believe that? Dude's married with 3 kids, and his wife probably has no clue. But she's gonna find out real soon. It's almost 5 o'clock and she'll be home any minute. I looked around and saw a bunch of nosy neighbors staring, some even called their friends to come watch the drama unfold. Crazy, right? Yo, the cops were called on me for supposedly promoting public indecency. I just waved to the crowd and walked into the house, shutting the door at 5:05 p.m. My wife pulled up in her car, slowed down when she saw the crowd outside our house, and then parked in front of our home. She stood there, checking out the furniture and signs in our front yard, probably wondering what the heck was going on. I was in my yard when I noticed her driving by, peeping at the big photos of her and her boss Greg Allen. There were like 40 or 50 people chatting and staring around. Suddenly, she screamed, "No, oh God no." Then her eyes landed on me through the house window. We locked eyes, and she looked devastated, her face pale and tears streaming down her cheeks. It was like she was asking me why, but I had the same question. So, I was checking her out for a bit, then I looked away and closed the curtains behind me. I guess I should tell you how my wife Sherry and I ended up in this messed up situation. My name's Jack Meyer. I met Sherry back in college, my first year there. A friend of ours thought we should meet, and when we finally did, I was head over heels. Sherry wasn't drop-dead gorgeous, but she was definitely cute and sexy. Standing at 5 feet 2 inches with stunning blue eyes and shoulder-length blonde hair, her body was small but just right. Her big boobs and tiny waist totally got me hooked, and even though she didn't realize it, I was already hooked. I was determined to win her over, no doubt about it. Sherry and I started seeing each other, and pretty soon we were officially a couple. Just a month after meeting, we finally got it on for the first time, and let me tell you, it was mind-blowing. I was so into Sherry, I couldn't get enough of her body. Neither of us were virgins, but we were both pretty new to the whole thing, and we had a blast exploring each other's bodies. Safe to say, we were both loving it. Let's just say we were head over heels in love. We tied the knot right after high school and moved into our first place, a condo in Van Nuys. Sherry got her real estate license and started working at a top agency in the area. I used my engineering degree to land a solid job at an electronics company, and we thought we had it made. For the next 13 years, we had a great life together. We started in our little apartment, but as our incomes went up, we were able to buy our dream home. So, we added to our family. First came Shelby, who's 8 now, and then 2 years later came Ryan, who's 6. Sherry and I adore these kids so much, we lived for each other and for our family. So, what went wrong? It's a shame, I can't say. I wish I could say I noticed some signs that something was off, but I was totally clueless and chill, living in a world of love and trust with my wife. It took a happy accident to wake me up, caused by my daughter Shelby got sick at school last Thursday, right before lunch. The school nurse called me during a staff meeting to let me know that Shelby was feeling ill, probably with the flu. I asked the nurse to call my wife, but she couldn't reach her at her office because she was out for the day. She tried calling our home, but no one picked up, so she left a message on my wife's cell phone, which went straight to voicemail. I had to rush to pick up my daughter from school, so I said sorry to my coworkers and drove fast to Shelby's school. I grabbed her and we headed home. When we pulled up and opened the garage, I saw a strange car parked next to my wife's. My heart sank and my stomach turned. I couldn't believe it. My wife, the woman I love more than anything, can't believe it, but why was there a random car in the garage? Something felt off, and I had to investigate without letting my daughter know. Just stay in the car for a minute, Shelby. But why? She protested. I'm tired. I know, sweetheart, but I think there's an exterminator at the house spraying for bugs, and the fumes could make you feel worse, I fibbed, the first lie I ever told my daughter. Let me check first, then I'll come back for you. Shelby grumbled a bit more, but chill in the back seat and wait for me. I snuck into the kitchen, praying to catch my wife and her friend gossiping over coffee at the table. But when I peeked around the corner, the kitchen was empty. I checked the living room, hoping to find her chatting on the couch, but nobody was there. Then I heard her familiar laugh from upstairs, and my heart dropped. The only rooms upstairs were. I was feeling pretty shaky as I made my way to the bedrooms. No matter how tough it was, I had to know what was going on. I tiptoed up the stairs, the carpet muffling my footsteps. The first bedroom was my daughter's, but it was empty with a neatly made bed. I moved on to my son's room, where the door was shut. Just as I was about to open it, I heard my wife laughing from our bedroom at the end of the hall, and my heart jumped into my throat. I snuck up to the door and listened in. At first, there was silence. Then I heard the creaking of a bed against the wall, followed by my wife's voice moaning, "Oh God, Greg, that feels so good. Oh yeah, baby, be my man." Then a man's voice chimed in, saying, "It's nice, isn't it, Sherry?" "Yes, Greg, you know it's amazing. The best thing ever. I've told you that 1,000 times. Even your useless husband Jack," she said. Jack was breathing heavily, and he pleaded, "Please don't call Jack a weakling, Greg. He's not. He just can't make me feel the way you do. He loves me. He cares a lot and puts in a lot of effort, but every time we have sex, all I can think about is you being inside me, filling me up and completing me like no one else. My body goes cold, and my wife couldn't handle the way I made love to her. I had to see it for myself but didn't want them to catch me. I knew my marriage was done, but I needed to see proof of her affair with my heart shattered. I slowly cracked open the door just a bit to peek inside, and what I saw destroyed any love I had left. When I saw my wife with her boss Greg Allen, my first thought was to kick his ass. But I knew I'd end up in jail because, let's face it, he didn't force himself on her, she was all too willing. So I managed to get to the car, closed the garage door, and started the engine. As we pulled out of the driveway, my kid asked, "Dad, where are we going?" "I feel awful, I just want to go to bed." I replied, "I know, Shelby. But trust me, what goes on in that house would make you even sicker. Man, I've only been inside for a few minutes and I'm feeling terrible. Can't tell her the truth, but can't lie either. I'll take you to Grandma's for a few hours until the smell goes away." It was a 15-minute drive to my mom's house, and as I drove, my mind went completely nuts. My marriage is done, no hope of saving it. No way I'm staying with the woman I just caught in bed with her lover. My bed, what a mess. I slammed my fist on the steering wheel. I was crying, "Dad. What's wrong?" "It's okay, Shelby. I'm all right, don't worry." I left Shelby with my grandma and told her I'd pick her up later. I didn't tell my mom about what I saw, just asked her to watch Shelby until I got back from work. I wanted to go home and confront the cheaters, but I knew I needed more than that. I needed revenge. On my way back to the office, I started planning. "All right, mate, I need to come up with a plan to screw over my missus and her boss at the electronics company I used to work for. When I got to work, I told my secretary to make sure no one bothered me all day. Then I called up my mate Dan Taylor from security. Dan's a top bloke and we go way back to college. I told him I needed to see him ASAP and he said he'd be over in half an hour. He rocked up 20 minutes later. "What's the latest, Dan?" I said as he walked in. "Hey man, the door." "Wow, you look like you just lost your last friend." "I think so, and I need help, whatever." "Jack, what's going on?" "I just caught my wife and her boss having sex in my house, in my bed." "Damn it, Jack, you're kidding." "I wish I was." "I had to pick up my daughter from school and when I got home, there was a strange car sitting in my garage. I snuck inside and found them in our bedroom, on our bed. I couldn't believe it, but it's true." "Damn it, Jack, this shouldn't happen to anyone." "What happened when you collided?" "I didn't. I was gonna do it, but my daughter is sick and I couldn't take the chance of her seeing them. So I made her wait for me in the car. After I saw them together, I quietly left and took Shelby to my mom's." "What's your plan?" "I'm not totally sure, but I know I need evidence. I need audio and video of them next time they do this, and that's where you come in." "Do you need security cameras and microphones?" "Something small that I can hide in a few rooms in the house so I can record everything that goes down." "I think I can help you out with this, Jack. But how do we go about it? You know, maybe that last time was just a fluke when things got a bit crazy. But Dan and them have been chatting about making this a regular thing for the last 6 months. I don't think they always come to my place, but I bet they hit up hotels to cover their tracks, even though they can't really afford it. Plus, his wife's home during the day, so it's just my place when I'm at work and the kids are at school." We chatted a bit more, then got down to business. Dan mentioned he had access to a new beta. "Hey, so this guy showed me this cool stuff, a bunch of tiny wireless cameras and microphones that could connect to my laptop or home computer. He also had a tiny voice recorder that I could slip under my wife's car seat to eavesdrop on her convos while she's driving. It'd only catch her side of things, but hey, better than nothing, right?" I thanked him and said I'd swing by his office the next day to pick everything up. Coming home that night was brutal. I had no clue how I was gonna face my wife and pretend like everything was normal. But I decided that the best thing I could do was act like I was feeling bad, which I actually was. I picked up Shelby from my mom's place, and when I got home, Sherry was in the kitchen cooking dinner. When she saw that Shelby was with me, she lost it. She was like, "Where have you been? Why didn't you call me and tell me Shelby was sick?" "I just got a message from the school nurse on my answering machine." "The school tried to call you, Sherry, but for some reason, you weren't available. They called your office and were told you weren't there. Then they tried calling your landline and left a message. They even tried your cell but it went to voicemail. Oh my God, I must have accidentally turned it off when I was showing it off at home. I didn't have a minute to myself all day, I was just too busy to even think about my daughter." Sherry hugged Shelby and apologized, then helped her into bed. "My wife may be a cheater, but she truly loves our children. I seem to be standing in the way of her happiness, but that's about to change very soon." Sherry tucked her daughter in bed and then went back to the kitchen to whip up some soup and finish cooking dinner for everyone. I told her I wasn't feeling well either and that I might sleep in the guest room tonight just in case I'm contagious. Sherry felt my forehead and said, "You do look a bit sweaty, dear. And you look pale." Yeah, I thought to myself, pale and sweaty, the classic symptoms of catching your wife with another man in your bed. I didn't say anything, I just turned and headed upstairs. I went to the master bedroom first, but I really didn't. I really wanted to go in there, but I needed my shaving stuff, toothbrush, and work clothes for the next day. So, I made myself go into the room. The window was open, the scent of sex was gone, and the bed was neatly made. She must have changed the sheets. It was tough to see that. Anger started bubbling up inside me like a wave, but I pushed it down. I had to stay calm until I could unleash hell on them. And I definitely will. I grabbed my things and headed into the guest bedroom, closing the door behind me. I stripped down to my undies and when I crawled into bed, I felt stiff as a board. I wanted to cry, but I held it in. I had a job to do and couldn't let my feelings mess it up. I lay there in the dark for hours, unable to sleep. My wife came in after putting the kids to bed and feeding them. I faked being asleep as she touched my forehead, then she left and closed the door. Sherry always took the kids to school, so I got up early, showered, and left before she woke up. Honestly, I didn't give a damn about what she thought. Man, I was so over it at that point. I used to think my marriage was solid, built on trust and commitment, but now I see how naive I was. I got to work early, made some coffee, and started figuring out my next moves. I knew I had to cancel our shared credit cards, move half of our money to a new account in my name only, and update all our legal stuff like the will, life insurance, and beneficiaries on the 401k. Sure's gotta go, it's all about me now. Shelby and Ryan, it felt like it would be easy to end the last 13 years of my life, but deep down I knew it would be tough. I also knew I needed to find a good divorce lawyer to stop Sherry from screwing me over. This state is a no-fault divorce state, so cheating wouldn't affect the money stuff. But it might help me keep my kids. Sherry showed me how little I meant to her, but she's a good mom and I don't want to keep her from them. Man, I just wanted joint custody of the kids so I could still be a part of their lives. I tried my best not to dwell on our love life and how embarrassing it was to hear my wife praise her lover over me in every way. I knew if I let myself think about it too much, I'd start doubting myself, and I couldn't let that happen yet. I knew it would hit me later, and when it did, it would probably wreck me. After making my list, I called Dan at his office, and he was there. He said he'd be done by noon. I would have everything I needed, he'd even come with me to help me set it up and make sure I know how to use it all. I tried to concentrate on clearing some papers from my desk when my cell phone rang. I realized it was Sherry, and after 3 rings, I answered. Her voice never failed to warm me, but this time the warmth was just a sign of burning anger. "Hey baby, how are you feeling?" she asked in the gentlest voice. "My stomach hurts a little. I'm worried about you, dear. You left this morning before I had a chance to check on you." "Yeah, I have a lot going on." "Hey Jack, got a lot on my plate and not much time, so I came early." "Take care of yourself, man. Can't imagine what I'd do if something happened to you. You, Shelby, and Ryan are my whole world. Even though you have a weird way of showing it, I still care." I reassured her that I'll be fine and told her to stop worrying. "If you're down for it tonight, I have a plan to make things happen for you." Can't believe I used to fall for her tricks like a fool. Hook, line, and sinker, but not anymore. She's going to get everything that's coming to her. You just gotta wait and see. Of course, we'll see how I feel. Boy, you must be feeling really bad to be so uninterested in getting what you know is yours, kid. Well, sure, I just have a lot of problems right now. See you tonight, I'll be home by 6. Honey, if you need me for anything, just call me. I'll be in the office all day today. This is exactly what I needed to hear. I called Dan and he said he had everything ready. The two of us worked on the setup together. All good and tested by 3:30. Dan put the software on my computer at home and made a safe folder to keep all the stuff the cameras and mics recorded. We checked out the living room, kitchen, guest bedroom, and the main bedroom, especially focusing on that one. There were 4 cameras in there that caught pretty much everything that went down. We even put a camera and mic in the main bathroom just in case the couple wanted to shower together. All cameras were set up. Man, that night was rough. The motion sensor kicked in automatically, and I knew I had to go through with it. After dinner, when the kids were finally asleep, I reluctantly went to bed with my wife. It wasn't about love, just sex. And when she said those words during, I almost lost it. She wanted me to keep going forever, but I just couldn't. Afterward, I turned away and pretended to sleep, no cuddling or anything. Sherry was knocked out, but she seemed pumped up. After we did the deed, we always cuddled. She snuggled up to my back, hugged me, and said, "Jack, I'm sorry if I didn't please you." "No, Sherry," I told her, "you always please me. I just sometimes wonder if I'm man enough for you." "Jack, why do you say that? You know you've always been my man. My life would be over if anything happened to you. As long as I have you, I don't need anyone else. You're my perfect lover, always have been and always will be." "Yeah, but I think sometimes I can't believe Jack, what's up with you? Nothing, Sherry. I'm just exhausted. He shut his eyes and tried to sleep. Later, I heard Sherry quietly crying. I didn't pity her, but I wondered if she was crying out of shame for what she did or because she thought I was being rude to her again. I got up before her and seized the chance to plant a voice recorder under the seat of her car. I also checked the video and audio from the device to make sure everything was in order. Last night, everything we did was caught on camera in our dimly lit bedroom. When Sherry got up, she seemed a bit pissed off and said I had said something that hurt her feelings the night before. But then she kissed me on the cheek and suddenly her mood changed to pure happiness. I reckon it was because she had plans with her boss that day. I made her a cup of coffee and let her know I'd be holed up in my office all day. She said she'd be out showing some houses and was confident she'd land a big sale. Hey, remember to grab Shelby and Ryan from school later. I gave Sherry a kiss on the cheek and was about to leave through the garage, but she stopped me. She said, Jack, you forgot to say you love me, honey. It's important to me to hear that every morning before we start our day. I told her, sorry, Sherry. I've already made it clear how I feel about you. I just have a lot on my mind right now. She said, okay, I forgive you this time, but a girl needs to hear her man say he loves her. Don't forget it. I promised her I wouldn't forget, and I left. Yeah, I'll definitely tell some girl how I feel. Man, I really love her. But if I ever find another girl I can trust enough to fall in love with, well, who knows? Sherry told me she'd be super busy all day, which made me think she'd be with her true love. I hope that's the case. I'm done with all the games. I just want this mess to be over. I did some work in the morning at my office, keeping an eye on the clock. Finally, at noon, I told my secretary I'd be out for a few hours and started putting my plan into action. I scoped out the company van and parked across the street from my house, just waiting to see what was gonna go down. Around 1 o'clock in the afternoon, I saw Cher's car pull up to the house. She opened the garage door and parked in her usual spot. When she got out of the car and went inside without opening the garage door, I thought she was either gonna leave again or was waiting for someone. About 10 minutes later, that same car I saw the day I caught them together pulled up into our driveway. He pulled into the garage, taking my spot just like he did in my wife's bed. I watched him get out of the car and the garage door shut. I gotta hand it to them for having the balls to meet so openly in my house, in my bed. It just shows me that they both thought they wouldn't get caught, or maybe they just didn't give a damn. Well, they're gonna learn real quick how wrong they were on both counts. They got caught, and I'll make sure they regret it. Pretty soon I'm gonna have all the proof I need of their long-term affair. For 13 years, I thought my wife would never cheat on me, just like I would never cheat on her. But then I started to have doubts. Is he really better in bed than me? Why would she risk ruining both our marriages by fooling around with him? Didn't she realize I would definitely tell his wife what they've been up to? I wanted so badly to storm into their house and confront them, but why bother? I could have caught them in the act, but damn, I already did it once without them knowing. Would I feel better if I beat the crap out of her lover and ended up in jail for it? Honestly, none of them were worth it. My only worry was how this mess would affect my kids and his kids too, since I was ready to ruin him the way he ruined me. By 2:30, they must have finished because the garage door opened and her lover backed out and drove off. 15 minutes later, my wife did the same, closing the garage door behind her. I didn't feel like wasting time watching all the camera footage. I just wanted to make sure I had the evidence saved on my hard drive. After 10 minutes, I had seen enough. It wasn't exactly the same as last time they were together, but it was pretty damn explicit. They started on the kitchen table, where I eat. They joked about how many times they had already hooked up there, wondering if I would ever catch on that I was eating in the same spot where he had slept with her so many times. After that, they moved on to our. Me and my wife were about to hit the sack, but then her dumb lover proposed getting it on in my daughter's room for a change of scenery. My wife freaked out when she told him absolutely not. She was already mad that I allowed him to flaunt it in my face, but the kids' rooms are off limits. At least she had some boundaries, unlike me. They stripped down and went at it for the next 40 minutes in the bedroom. I couldn't help but notice that they never said, "I love you," to each other. But my wife kept telling her boss that he was the one. The dude she was hooking up with was the bomb, and they ended things by getting it on the rug by the fireplace in the living room. After he bounced, she took a quick shower before heading out herself. I found it odd that she didn't bother changing the sheets, but I figured she'd do it later when she got the kids at 3:30. This gave her enough time to tidy up the room since I usually didn't get back until 6. I knew I had all the evidence I needed safely stored on my hard drive, so I shut down the system and left the house without even bothering to double-check anything. Man, when I saw the disaster in my marriage bed, I was done. My heart was cold towards my wife, but deep down, I felt hollow. The pain turned into straight-up burning anger and hatred. I couldn't help but smirk, knowing I was about to unleash hell on their lying asses. I went back to work and spilled everything to Dan. He was just as shocked as me, wondering how someone like Sherry could betray us like that. Not only did she break our vows, but she went out of her way to make it worse. I wanted to make him feel like crap while also making sure he knew he was better in bed and a more manly man than me. Every time I brought it up during our 13-year marriage, she would get pissed and say it was gross to even think about. These thoughts made me feel like shit, and I knew I had to pull myself out of this pit of pain and hopelessness. I had to find a top-notch divorce lawyer, and Dan recommended reaching out to the law firm the company used to see if they could help me out. Hey, so I asked around, and one of my lawyer friends at the company hooked me up with 3 divorce attorneys who are apparently pretty good at protecting the husband's rights. The first one I reached out to was about to retire and wasn't taking on any new cases, but the second one said he'd squeeze me in. The next day at 3 p.m., I decided to handle canceling credit cards, changing beneficiaries, and moving money. When I got home that evening, Sherry was in the kitchen making dinner while the kids were doing homework in their rooms. She was wearing a cute yellow sundress and looked absolutely stunning. For a moment, I felt like my heart was breaking all over again. She smiled and looked so happy. I figured it was just her usual afternoon cheerfulness. "Hey, baby, how was your day?" she asked with a smile. I hope it was as great as mine. This made me raise my eyebrows in surprise. Hey, guess what? My day was kinda interesting, not exactly amazing, but I did learn some cool stuff I didn't know before. I totally get why she was in such a good mood. Spending time with the best lover in the world must really make your day. I made a sale today, the first one this week, but I have a feeling there might be another one on Thursday when I show a few more houses. It must be your lucky day, I told her without much excitement. Anything else cool happened today? Meeting any interesting or special people? She gave me a weird look, saying, "No, honey, just a normal job to get through the day so I can go home and be with my family." You know where my heart is. While I was changing, I saw that the sheets had been changed and the room had been aired out. There was water on the shower floor, so I mentioned it to her when I got back to the kitchen. "Did you take a shower this afternoon?" She literally jumped at my words and turned to me with a guilty expression. "No, of course not, that's stupid." "Why would I do that?" "I don't know. Man, there's always water on the shower floor and it never sticks around for more than a few hours." "Oh, the drain is probably clogged again." "Yeah, maybe. But I cleared it out a couple weeks ago. Maybe someone's sneaking into our house to hook up with their lover and they're taking a shower after sex." I said this and she froze for a few seconds. She didn't even turn to look at me, just kept staring at the counter with her head down, then went back to separating the lettuce leaves for the salad. "My Jack, you sure have a wild imagination." "Man, you must have a wild imagination to come up with stuff like that. Do you think it's just imagination or do you have some kind of psychic powers? Sometimes I swear I can almost read people's minds. If you could read my mind, you'd see how much I adore you." She tried to chuckle, but it sounded fake. "I'll be in my office, just holler when dinner's done." She turned and gave me a worried look. Dinner was awkwardly quiet with little talking. Sherry looked surprised when I took her usual seat at the table and made her sit in mine. "Hey Jack, why are you eating at a different table today?" "Oh, I just wanted a change of scenery for once." Sherry gave me a weird look and barely touched her food, just pushed it around on her plate. The kids chatted about their day while Sherry and I mostly just listened and threw in a comment here and there. After dinner, we all pitched in to wash the dishes. I went back to my office to work on my project, sorting through the football and making my selections. Found some good pics to print out on my Epson T3000, picked out some captions to go with them, now just gotta meet with my lawyer to start the divorce, get my money sorted, and wait for my wife and her side piece to show up again. When I finally hit the hay, Sherry was already asleep or faking it. Pretty sure my moves tonight got her thinking, not that it even matters, she can't do anything about it. I ain't gonna change my mind about leaving her cheating ass, no matter what she says. But I did enjoy seeing her squirm a bit today. It was Tuesday and she mentioned she had plans to make a sale on Thursday, so I took that as a sign she was gonna meet up with her lover that day. I'm gonna catch them in the act and ruin their little party. The next morning, I was up early again, showered, and left before Sherry even woke up. I had a lot on my plate. My meeting with the lawyer was only supposed to be 3 hours, so I had plenty of time to take care of business. Taking care of all the money stuff, first thing I did was go to HR to switch the life insurance and 401k beneficiary from Sherry to Shelby and Ryan. The lady helping me gave me some weird looks, but I didn't feel like I had to explain myself to her or anyone else. Next, I canceled all our shared credit cards and got a new one just in my name. Then I went to the bank and moved half the money from our joint accounts to a new account in my name. I knew I had to do something about our house, but I was pretty sure the court would let Sher stay there with the kids. So, I didn't do anything about it until I talked to my lawyer at 3. When I met with him, he seemed like a decent dude. He warned me that she would probably get custody of Shelby and Ryan, and I'd have to give her the house and half of everything else, even if I had proof she was cheating. I told him to go ahead and write up a request, and that's when he said. I told him not to stress, I was confident I could get her to agree to whatever I wanted. He wasn't pleased, but eventually caved to my demands, promising everything would be set for her to be served on Friday morning. I also had him prepare papers to sue her boss and their company for ruining my marriage on purpose. These papers needed to be ready by Friday morning as well. When I got home that evening, I was prepared and distant. Sherry, I was so done with it all, I just wanted it to be over so I could move on. I knew there was more heartache to come, but I couldn't go back. I decided to confront my wife and her lover after a calm dinner, printed out photos of them, wrote captions, and even wrote a letter to Greg Allen's wife. I did it all without any interruptions in my man cave. So, I found some copies of the big photos I used for the posters and made sure to mention that I had plenty of video to give her in case she wanted to leave her husband soon after 11. I snuck into our bedroom to check if Sherry was asleep, then went to her car, grabbed the recorder from under the seat, rewound it, and listened to what was recorded. I only heard one side of the conversations, and there were some legit business calls, but there was one to Greg. It went like, "Hello darling, thank you again for today. I miss you too. I always miss you after we were." Yeah, totally. Oh my god, a whole week together would be amazing, right? Maybe we can host a real estate convention soon that everyone has to come to. Haha, yeah baby, we're meeting on Thursday afternoon. I can't wait either. Bye baby. I was surprised to find that what she said didn't hurt as bad as it used to. She didn't know how soon she would be his forever. And knowing that I would ruin their happy life in just one day made me feel good. Revenge is a powerful thing. I switched out the tape. So, I swapped out the old recorder with a new one and hid it back under the seat, hoping it would catch her losing it the next day. I couldn't sleep a wink that night, not because I was sad, but because I was on edge, bracing myself for what was coming. I woke up early, unable to sleep, while Sherry was still knocked out. I just stared at her, the woman I thought I'd be with forever, the mother of my kids. Tears welled up in my eyes. Tears were filling my eyes as I realized that I had slept with her for the last time. We won't be making love again, we won't be hugging or talking about our future. We didn't have a future. As I turned and walked away, I wondered if she knew the consequences of turning her back on me. She may not have known, but she would soon find out. I took a shower, left the house, had breakfast at the diner, and then briefly stopped by work to let my secretary know that I would be out all day. I called Dan and told him what was about to happen. So, he wished me good luck and told me to be careful. He also asked me to let him know how it all went down. I quickly swung by my lawyer's office to make sure everything was set for serving papers to my wife and Greg Allen the next day. After that, I gave my wife a call to let her know I'll be picking up the kids from school. My mom wanted to have them for the long weekend, so I'll swing by the house around 3:45 to grab some clothes and take everything straight to Mom's place. My wife thought it was great, and in her flirty voice, she told me that on Saturday we'd have some alone time. Spent the day in bed, obviously. I told her that and then hung up. I had reached my limit of listening to her nonsense. I wasn't in a rush to get back home, so by 12:30 I was parked nearby, waiting for the rally to start. My car was mostly hidden from sight, but I could see any car that pulled into my driveway. I didn't even need to see the garage door opening and closing. I knew my wife and her lover's routine like the back of my hand by 12:50 p.m. I saw Sherry's car pull into the driveway, followed 5 minutes later by Greg Allen's car. I should have been devastated knowing that my wife was getting it on with her boss in our bed while I waited nearby, but strangely, it didn't bother me. I was surprisingly calm as I pictured all the dirty deeds they were up to. It was like watching a bad movie with a killer ending. At 2:50, I watched Greg Allen's car leave the driveway and disappear down the street. 10 minutes later, Sherry followed suit. As soon as they left, I followed him. I drove into the garage and closed the door because I had work to do and not much time to finish it. I went to my office and checked the recording of the afternoon session, and it was all there. But this time, something was different this time. I didn't care. Once I was sure the footage was safely downloaded to my hard drive, I spent the next few minutes carrying all my dirty photo signs I had made up the stairs and placing them by the front door where they would be easy to grab. Then I packed a toothbrush and some clothes for the trip. Shelby and Ryan, I put them in my car. My only regret was knowing how much hurt I was gonna put on the two kids I loved more than anything. But I felt better knowing I wasn't the one causing the pain they'd feel when they found out their parents were splitting up. It was all on their mom, who decided to cheat and break up their family. I picked them up from school at 3:15 as the bell rang. I told them they were gonna chill with Grandma for the weekend, and since she always spoils them rotten, they were super psyched. 45 minutes later, I dropped them off and headed back home to put my plan into motion. And here we are again, with a bed, a table, and a rug on the lawn, all while the nosy neighbors are keeping an eye out. Sherry comes home and freaks out when she finds out the truth that I know everything. I didn't hear a peep from Sherry that night, even though I expected to. An hour later, the cops showed up at my door. After Sherry bounced, they felt sorry for me but told me I had to take down the signs and pics or else they'd have to slap me with a fine for causing a ruckus and being obscene. I took them down, they did what I asked. My wife saw them and I could tell from her face that her life was going down the drain. I woke up Friday morning with a killer hangover but still felt like a boss. Yeah, I was feeling down and lonely, but I knew I had it in me to keep my anger and hate in check long enough to get back at my enemies. Cheating wife and her dumbass boyfriend. Around lunchtime, I opened the curtains and noticed the carpet, kitchen table, and bed were all missing. All that was left was the mattress and the nasty sheets. I'll get rid of them later, maybe burn them. The morning was quiet after that, but shit hit the fan at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I knew Greg Adams's wife got the letter and photos that morning. My lawyer called to confirm that both Sherry and Greg Adams got it. So, me and my crew were just doing our thing at work, you know. And then, out of nowhere, Sherry starts freaking out, crying and all that. Greg was being a total jerk, walking around like he owns the place, calling me names and threatening me. But his buddies locked themselves in a room for like 15 minutes before coming out and giving Sherry her last paycheck, basically firing her on the spot. They also gave Greg his cut of the partnership money, even though he said he didn't want it. When he tried to sell to them, they showed him their company rules about not messing around with employees. The rules said they had the right to cut ties with him and his side chick. Meanwhile, the receptionist told him his wife was on the phone, pissed and wanting to talk. She got the letter and pics, and basically told him not to bother coming back home because she's gonna file for divorce soon. Yo, so I found out later from this dude whose wife worked at the agency that once he got kicked out, everyone ignored my future ex-wife and she was just laying on the floor crying for like 30 minutes. Eventually she managed to get up and leave, but no one knew where she went. The next day, Sherry called me sounding all messed up, asking about the kids and if they knew what was going on. I told her they were with my mom and they were safe. She didn't want to hear any gross stuff from me, so she thanked me for not telling her. Then she asked if she could come get her stuff, and I said she could as long as she let me know when so I could leave for a few hours. She wanted me to stay and chat, but I told her I had nothing to say. That made her cry again. I'm really sorry, she said. You need to know how sorry I am, Jack, and that I never meant to hurt you. I couldn't help but laugh when you said you felt sorry for Sherry and never meant to hurt me. Like, seriously. What did you think I would do, congratulate you both? I didn't want you to find out, but I love you, Jack. I've never loved anyone but you. Do you even believe that? Sure. Especially after you told your lover how much better he made you feel than I ever could, and how he was the only one who could complete you. Jack, I never said anything like that. Hey, what the hell were you thinking saying all that crap to him? I've got tapes of you spewing all that nonsense to him, Sherry. Every insult, every embarrassing thing you said about me to your lover. I've got nothing to say to you, Sherry. And there's nothing you can say to me that'll change how I feel about you. I love you, Jack. You gotta believe that. I've always loved you, only you. I don't know what got into me to say all that. Listen, Greg, I swear I didn't mean anything by it. I was just trying to make him feel better about himself because he always complained about how his wife puts him down. But let me set the record straight, you were constantly belittling me in front of him, making me feel worthless in bed just so you could boost his ego and make him feel better. Is that what happened? You felt sorry for him because his wife humiliated him, so you not only humiliated me, but you also slept with him in every way imaginable. Bro, I've been trying to make things right for the past 6 months just to make him feel better. I never meant to hurt you, Jack. I didn't mean for it to come out like that. If you didn't mean anything by it, then why did you do it? I'm shocked it took me this long to see how pathetic you are. I feel so dumb for not seeing it sooner. I don't love him, Jack. I love you. Please, if you can find it in your heart to give me another chance to fix things, I'll give you everything. You have to believe me. I messed up, but this can't be the end for us. Let me prove it to you. Jack, please don't ditch me. Sorry, Sherry, but I don't love you and I didn't leave you, you left me. The way you treated him and the awful things you said about me for over 6 months show that you don't care about me. You can't claim to love someone and then wish them so much pain, harm, and humiliation. I think you're repulsive, Sherry, just plain evil and repulsive. I can't wait for you to be out of my life. The only reason I'll ever deal with you is because of the kids. Yo, remember Shelby and Ryan, our kids when we were still a fam? I want to protect them from pain, but I ain't holding back on you. I want you to feel all the hurt you put me through. You and Greg, your side piece, both deserve this. Why'd you spill the beans to his wife, Jack? That ain't right, that ain't fair. Are you out of your mind, Sherry? What you did to me and our kids ain't right. What were you even thinking when you spilled the tea to her? He wrecked everything. My family got messed up when he kept sleeping with my wife, like, non-stop. Then he started acting like he owned her, making her praise him while putting me down. And to top it off, his wife needed to realize she was living with a total nobody. What she does with that info is up to her. They have kids, Jack, me, Sherry. I just want to protect my own kids. I feel bad for his kids too, but it's not my fault if they end up in a bad situation. Look, Sherry, the future without their dad is on him and you too. I'm not taking any blame here. I don't want to split up with Jack. I'll fight for our marriage, but let's be real, there's nothing left to fight for. I'd honestly rather die than be stuck with you for the rest of my life. I know you still care about me, Jack. You can't just switch it off because of one mistake. You're acting crazy. Have you even read the divorce papers? No. Why the heck not? Just listen to me and let me explain. Listen, Jack, we don't have to get divorced if you can't do it for me, but at least do it for Shelby and Ryan. They need both a mom and a dad. They will still have both of us in their lives, we just won't be married or living together. If you actually read the petition, you would have seen that as long as you agree to joint custody, you can stay in the house and split everything with me. But just so you know, if you don't sign and agree to the terms, there will be consequences. Listen here, Jack. If you don't agree to the fair terms I'm offering, I'll make sure to share embarrassing videos of you with everyone you know, including your family. You think you can't do it? Well, you're dead wrong, Sherry. I hate you with a passion and I'll do whatever it takes to make your life miserable. Just sign the damn divorce papers, Sherry. Please, Jack, give me a chance to make things right. Don't make me do this. Hey Sherry, please just sign the damn papers already. When she finally did, the divorce was official in 6 months. Now she's living with Shelby and Ryan in the house we used to share, while I'm stuck in a condo a few blocks away. Luckily, we're still in the same school district, so the kids' routine wasn't too messed up. Shelby told me that their mom admitted she messed up and our marriage was doomed. But we promised the kids we'd be there for them no matter what. Always have their back. I don't know what Sherry said to her folks and sis about the split, but they're still talking to me, so I guess she didn't pin it all on me. As for my mom, she just sees it as something that had to happen. I had to grab my recorder from Sherry's car one last time, and the voice recording was unforgettable. On the ride home, she called Greg to thank him for the amazing day, but mentioned that I might get the wrong idea. She suggested we delay our plans for a couple weeks. She thought everything was good to go, but when she got to the house, she was totally thrown off by all these people hanging around outside and staring at our yard. Then she saw the signs and pictures and it hit her what I had pulled off. Her screams damn near shattered the record. When she left, she was bawling and kept asking me, "What the hell did you do, Jack? What the hell did you do?" Then it hit her like a ton of bricks and her tune changed to, "Oh my God, what have I done? Please, God, make it all disappear." She somehow managed to call her. Hey, so I called my ex and he picked up, and I freaked out because he knows everything about me and Greg. I ended up crying for ages. It's been over a year since everything went to hell, but I'm slowly getting myself back together. I'm not ready to start dating again anytime soon. The idea of going through that again scares me. Shelby said her mom went on a date once and ended up crying, so she never dated again. So, Sherry landed a gig as a secretary at a retirement community. I never did find out if she's still talking to Greg Allen, and honestly, I couldn't care less. Turns out, Greg Allen and his wife split up, and he couldn't find a job. I mean, I didn't go around sharing videos of their shenanigans, so Sherry knows I wasn't out to get Greg. But it seems like a lot of companies are hesitant to hire someone with a reputation for messing around with married women and wrecking marriages. I mean, I did blur out Sherry's face in the video, but I left all the juicy audio in there. So, I heard that Greg's ex-wife is seeing this cool dude who's a cop now, and it seems like they're really hitting it off. Good for her, I guess. Oh, and speaking of Greg, his old company decided to offer me some hush money so they wouldn't get any bad press. I took the deal, and it seems like all that drama is finally over. I'm just focused on my kids and making sure they have a good future. Maybe one day I'll start caring about my own future too. Anyway, don't forget to subscribe to our channel so you don't get played like a fool. Yo, just keep listening to the next story, cause trust me, the next one is way crazier. If you're underage, just skip it, it ain't for you.